Okay, the nervous system. It is like the Wi-Fi of your body, connecting everything and keeping it all running smoothly. So, in today's lesson, we will be discussing the nervous system. Alright, let's kick things off with the big picture. The nervous system is body's command center. So it controls everything from your heartbeat and breathing to your ability to solve that tricky math problem. So it's divided into two main parts. That is your central nervous system and your peripheral nervous system. Okay, easy enough. Let's break it down further. So we will start with the central nervous system. So the central nervous system, or another word for central nervous system, or the short form of it is CNS. So think of it as a CEO of your body. So it is made up of the brain and your spinal cord. The brain is like HQ, making decision and sending commands, and the spinal cord is the highway that is transmitting messages between the brain and the rest of the body. So this nervous system, central nervous system, consists of your brain and your spinal cord, and the brain is enclosed by the skull and spinal cord by your vertebral column. Both brain and spinal cord are enclosed by the meninges. Okay, so brain has different sections, each with a specific job. For example, a cerebellum, it is the largest part and it is where all the thinking, learning and memory will happen. Then we have cerebellum. Cerebellum is your balance buddy, helping with coordination. And then we have the brain stem. It is in charge of essential stuff like your breathing and your heart rate. You can think of it as the autopilot of the body. So here on the screen you can see the diagram of the brain, labeling different parts. That is your cerebellum, medulla oblongata, cerebellum, hypothalamus, corpus callosum, and this section here, this part here, I'm going to highlight it in yellow. This section is called your brainstem. So cerebellum, the function of cerebellum is to control voluntary action. It receives and interprets sensation from the sense organ, and it is responsible for your higher thought processes. Then we have medulla oblongata. It transmits nerve impulses between your spinal cord and brain and control involuntary actions such as your heartbeat and breathing. Then we have corpus callosum. So corpus callosum is only this section in purple. So it connects the left and right hemisphere of the brain, allowing communication between both hemisphere. Then we have hypothalamus, the part between the yellow and the purple part. That is your hypothalamus, which controls the center for hunger, thirst. It is the control center for the hunger, thirst, sleep, body temperature and your emotions. Lastly, we have cerebellum, and it is this section. This look like a small leaf. This part is only your cerebellum, which coordinates all your voluntary movement, control muscle tension to maintain the balance. Okay, now the spinal cord. The spinal cord is like a superhighway for messages. It is protected by the vertebra and surrounded by your cerebrospinal fluid for cushioning. And its main job is to carry information to and from the body, and it will help with the reflexes. So here is the cross section of the spinal cord, and fun fact about the spinal cord is without it your body would be a total mess, no communication and no coordination. So spinal cord arises from both side of the spinal nerve arises from the both side of the spinal cord, and each spinal nerve has a dorsal root and a ventral root. And the dorsal root consists of the sensory neurons, and the ventral root consists of your motor neuron. So this is your ventral root, and all the motor functioning, all the motor neuron are present here. And then other part is your dorsal root, and all the sensory neuron you will find it in the dorsal root of the spinal cord. And this section here is your spinal cord diagram. So this is the gray matter, outside is the white matter. Then on the other side as well, here will be on this from this side your dorsal root will begin, and from other side your ventral root will begin, taking your spinal nerves throughout the body and connecting everything, so there is communication and coordination in the body. So the function of spinal cord, as we discussed before, provides a pathway for nerve impulses to and from the brain, and the spinal cord serve as the center for the reflex action. Okay, next part is your peripheral nervous system. So moving on to the peripheral nervous system, it is also called your PNS. If the CNS is the CEO, the PNS is the team of the employees carrying out all the commands. So it connects the CNS to the rest of your body, like your arms, legs, organs, and the PNS is further split into the two parts, your somatic nervous system and your autonomic nervous system. So peripheral nervous system include all the nerve tissues situated outside the central nervous system. So besides the central nervous system, everything, your arm, leg, other organs are your beside your brain and spinal cord. Everything is included in your peripheral nervous system. So it will include 12 pair of cranial nerves, 31 pairs of spinal nerves, and it consists of your sensory nerve and motor nerve. The motor nerves are subdivided into your somatic nervous system and your autonomic nervous system. So what is the difference between these two? Your somatic nervous system will conduct nerve impulses from the central nervous system to the voluntary muscles and control all your voluntary actions. For example, running, eating, these are all the controlled by your somatic nervous system. Another part of the peripheral nervous system we said is your autonomic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system will conduct nerve impulses from the CNS system to the involuntary muscles and glands, and and it will control involuntary actions. For example, sneezing, breathing, blinking of eyes, digestion, excretion. All of these are the part of your autonomic nervous system. Let's move on further. Okay, functions of your peripheral nervous system. The function again conducts impulses from the receptors to your central nervous system, and it will conduct impulses from the central nervous system to the effectors. Okay, let's zoom in on your autonomic nervous system. ANS, it runs everything in the background. For example, your heartbeat, digestion, breathing, when you're not thinking about it. Your ANS is again further divided into your two teams, your sympathetic and your parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system is your fight or flight mode. So it kicks in when you are stressed. Like when you see a pop quiz, it speeds up your heart rate, pumps adrenaline. All of this are part of your sympathetic nervous system. Then we have parasympathetic nervous system, your parasympathetic division. So this is your rest and digest mode. It calms everything down after the stress is over, like a yoga instructor for your body. Okay, so the difference between two, Sympathetic and parasympathetic division. Example of the response of autonomic nervous system will be in the sympathetic division. It will increase your heart rate, dilate pupils, increase blood pressure, and your parasympathetic nervous system will work in the opposite way. So it will decrease your heart rate, constrict pupils, and decrease your blood pressure. Next concept is your structure of nerves. Now let's talk about the structure of nerve. A nerve is like a cable made up of the bundle of neurons. Each neuron has three main parts. There is your cell body, which is the control center. We have dendrites that these will receive signals, and your axon, this will send signals out, which is covered by your myelin sheet for the faster transmission. And speaking of neurons, there are three types: your sensory neurons, motor neurons, and then we have your interneuron. Sensory neuron will carry signals from your senses to your brain. Motor neuron will send commands from your brain to your muscles, and your interneuron will connect the two, acting as a middleman. So let's read through the structure and functioning of the nerves. Nervous tissue consists of million of nerves called your neurons. A neuron has a cell body consisting of your cytoplasm and your nucleus. Cytoplasm contain granules, the nasal granules, which are rich in RNA and involved in protein synthesis. So, two types of outgrowths that extend from the cell body of the neuron is your dendrites and axon. Dendrite, they will conduct nerve impulses to the cell body, and your axons will conduct nerve impulses away from the cell body. So most of the nervous tissue outside the central nervous system, they are enclosed by the myelin sheet, which is formed by the cells called your Schwann cells. The myelin sheet will insulate nerve fibers and accelerate the transmission of your nerve impulses. Then we looked at the three types of neuron. So let's look at the structure of a motor neuron. So we have your dendrites, your axons. This is your cell body, which have a nucleus and your cytoplasm with all the nasal granules. Dendrites will transmit impulse towards the cell body, so in this direction, and axon will transmit impulses away from the cell body, so away. Okay, so this is coming, dendrites are coming to, all the impulses are coming towards the cell body, and from this side all the axon, they are carrying impulses away from the cell body. And then we have this myelin sheet, which will act as a insulation for the nerve tissues. And this myelin sheet is formed by your Schwann cells, and they will insulate the nerve fiber, and it will speed up the transmission of your nerve impulse. Okay, now we have the structure of a sensory neuron. Structure of a sensory neuron differ little bit from the structure of your motor neuron, as in the cell body will look like something like this. Both of it has again your dendrites and axon. So direction of impulse is towards the cell body, is this is your dendrite, because it says here that direction of impulses is this way, the cell body is here, and these are your axons, so it is away from the axons are away, carrying impulses away from the cell body. Okay, reflex arc and reflex action. Ever touched something hot and pulled your hand away without thinking? That is a reflex arc action. It's an automatic response that is designed to protect you. So, how it works? Sensory neuron will detect the danger, then interneuron will process it, and then motor neuron will move your muscles. So, all without bothering the brain. So, reflex actions, they are like your body's emergency response. By definition, reflex action. This is a quick automatic response to a stimulus, and it does not involve brain. It protects the body from the harm. Blinking of eye, coughing, all of these are included in the reflex action. Reflex arc. This is the pathway along which the nerve impulses are conducted from a receptor to an effector to bring about a reflex action. So diagram of a simple reflex arc to show the different part and function of those parts. So number one is your receptor. So this finger is your receptor. So this is a structure which receives a stimulus and convert it into an impulse. The heat sensor of a finger feels burn. So it will carry the stimulus. Then it will move to the sensory neuron. Sensory neuron will carry impulses from the receptor to the spinal cord. So they will travel along this path to the spinal cord. So this is the dorsal part along the dorsal root of the spinal cord. Then in the spinal cord they will see your interneurons. This interneuron will carry impulse from sensory neuron to the motor neuron. So they will come on the other side on the ventral part where all the motor neurons are present. So motor neuron then will carry the impulses from the spinal cord to the effector. Effector is a structure which produces the reaction. So the muscle in the finger will contract and finger is pulled away. So starting with the receptor to the receptor to the sensory neuron, then we have interneuron, then we have motor neuron, and lastly we have your effector. Okay, next is the significance of reflex arc. It is to protect the body from injury. Okay, there's another concept of synapse. So synapse is the functional connection between your axon of one neuron and the dendrite of another neuron. And it will ensure that impulses can only move in one direction. Impulses can be transmitted to more than one neuron at a synapse, and a synapse will determine which impulse will be transmitted to the next neuron. Now, let's talk about what happens when the nervous system isn't working properly. So, two main major disorders are your Alzheimer's and your multiple sclerosis. So, Alzheimer's disease and multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's will affect the brain, causing memory loss and confusion, and it's like brain's connection are slowly breaking down. So this will occur when healthy neuron becomes less and less efficient, and symptoms will include your memory loss and your confusion. Then we have MS disease. MS means multiple sclerosis. This happens when the immune system attacks the myelin sheet around the nerves. So this will disrupt your communication, and this could lead to your muscle weakness and difficulty in moving. So it occurs when the body's own immune system destroys the myelin sheet of the neuron. So remember, the myelin sheet will insulate the nerve fiber and accelerate the transmission of your nerve impulses. So symptoms for this will include loss of muscle control and coordination in all parts of the body. So there you have it, the nervous system broken down and simplified. Remember, your body's Wi-Fi is always on, keeping everything running smoothly, and you can take care of it by staying healthy, getting enough sleep, and reducing stress.